We're always told that football is big business. You see it everywhere, right? The billion-pound television deals, the eye-watering transfer fees, the global superstars. But what if all that is just a massive illusion? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the finances of the beautiful game and see what's really going on.
So, let's kick off with the single most important question. Is football actually a big business? I mean, it feels like an obvious yes, doesn't it? But trust me, by the end of this, you might see the entire sport through a completely new and surprising economic lens.
To really get to the bottom of this, we first need to understand why this illusion is so convincing. So let's look at all the evidence that makes football feel like this unstoppable corporate giant. I mean, seriously, just look at this number. Since the Premier League kicked off back in 1992, top flight revenue has grown by over 2,500%. That is a mind-boggling explosion of cash flooding into the sport.
And all that cash just feeds the story, right? You've got these massive TV deals that broadcasters are desperate to get their hands on, transfer fees that are now well into the nine-figure range, and clubs that are globally recognized brands from Manchester all the way to Melbourne. So on the surface, yeah, it definitely looks the part.
So, the evidence seems pretty compelling, doesn't it? Case closed. Football is big business. Or is it? Because this is where our analysis really begins, where things get interesting. Because turnover and flashy headlines, they don't tell the whole story.
Okay, so to really answer our question, we have to pause for a second and agree on something absolutely crucial. What, in pure, simple economic terms, actually makes something a big business?
And here's what it all boils down to. For our purposes, it's one thing and one thing only, the consistent ability to generate profit. We're not talking about cultural impact or media attention or even just revenue. We are talking about the cold, hard cash on the bottom line. Does it make money for its owners, year in, year out?
All right, with that definition locked in, let me throw a comparison at you that might sound a bit weird at first, but it illustrates the problem perfectly. A supermarket versus a football stadium. It sounds strange, I know, but financially, it's incredibly revealing.
So let's put a big Tesco Extra supermarket head-to-head with a typical club from the Championship. That's the league just below the Premier League. Now, the key thing to get your head around here is that both of these places can actually handle a very similar amount of money flowing through them over a year. And wow, this table just lays it all bare. Look at that top line. The annual turnover is pretty much the same. But then, look at the wages. Tesco spends about 10% of its income on staff. A Championship club, it often spends over 100% of its revenue. That's more than it even brings in. And that leads us to the final, all-important row. The supermarket generates a healthy profit, 1 to 3 million quid. The football club, it's lucky to break even, and usually it makes a loss.
So what is going on here? Is it just that football clubs are terribly run? Well, no, not really. The problem is structural. It's baked into the very DNA of competitive sport. Let's dig into why making a profit in football is actually a massive problem. Hey, remember that incredible 2,500% revenue growth we talked about? Well, this chart shows you exactly where all that money went. Over the same period, player wages grew even faster, by over 3,600%. It's a non-stop financial arms race. Every single new pound that comes into the game is immediately swallowed up by the rising cost of trying to win. And this creates what we can call the profit paradox. First, the costs, especially wages, are always driven up to meet whatever money is available. But second, and this is the really wild part, any profit a club makes is seen as a disadvantage. Fans don't want to see millions sitting in a bank account. They see that as money that could have been spent on a new striker to win the league or maybe save them from relegation. And this quote, man, it just sums it up perfectly. In any normal business, profit is the entire point. In football, profit is seen as a missed opportunity to get better on the pitch. It's this fundamental clash between financial health and sporting ambition. All right, so we've looked at the mountains of cash, we've defined what a real business is, and we've dug into the unique economic pressures of the sport. It's time to go back to our original question and deliver a final verdict. And the verdict is clear: no. Based on that fundamental business metric of consistent profitability, football is not a big business. It's a massive industry, a cultural phenomenon for sure, but it does not behave like a normal profit-generating company. And hey, You don't have to take my word for it. This quote from an anonymous Premier League executive absolutely hits the nail on the head. It's a sport, a competition, where success on the pitch requires spending vast sums of money, often more money than you actually have.
Which leaves us with one final, fascinating question to chew on. If football clubs aren't really businesses designed to make a profit for their owners, then what exactly are they? Are they cultural institutions, community assets, or just very, very expensive hobbies for the ultra-wealthy? It's something to think about next time you're watching a match on a Saturday afternoon. Thanks for watching.